welcome to the Explainer. So today, we're talking about something huge, kind of like a ticking time bomb sitting right at the heart of our entire digital world. We're talking about a threat that could, one day, unlock basically every secret we've ever stored online.
All right, so let's just dive right in. I want you to imagine a master key, one that can open every single digital lock in the world. I'm talking everything from top government secrets all the way down to your private messages. And listen, this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. This is the very real future that security experts are absolutely racing to prevent.
And get this, that race, it has already started. Right now, as we speak, adversaries are grabbing and storing massive amounts of our encrypted data. Now, they can't read it, not yet anyway, but they're hoarding it, just waiting, stockpiling it for the day a quantum computer comes along that's powerful enough to just crack it all wide open. So for any data that needs to stay secret for a long, long time, well, that clock is already ticking.
And that right there brings us to what's called the quantum deadline. Look, this is not some far-off, futuristic problem you can just put off. If you or your organization have any information that needs to stay secure for years or even decades, well, the deadline to protect it from this future threat, it's right now.
So this really boils down to the one fundamental question every single organization has to answer for itself. It's not a matter of if you need to move to quantum-safe security, it's a matter of when. And the really cool part is, the answer isn't just a wild guess. It's actually based on this surprisingly simple and elegant little formula.
So let's get into it. How do you take this massive, super complex decision and boil it all down to a single equation? One that can actually guide your entire strategy? Well, that's what we're going to look at next.
Okay, so here it is. It's called Mosca's inequality, named after the researcher Michele Mosca. Seriously, you should think of this as your survival guide for the quantum age. It all comes down to 3 key variables, so let's break them down. First up, we have X. Think of X as the shelf life of your data. How long does it absolutely have to stay secret? Is it, say, a company's financial records that you need to protect for maybe 7 years? Or are we talking about national secrets that have to stay under wraps for 50 years or more? Whatever that number is, that's your X.
Okay, next up is Y. Y is your migration time. How long is it actually going to take your organization to switch over to this new quantum-safe encryption? And we're talking about the whole shebang, finding, updating, and testing every critical system. For a smaller, more agile company, that might be 2 or 3 years. But for a huge, complex global organization, it could easily be 8 years or even more.
And last but definitely not least, we have Z. And honestly, Z is the big one. It's the wild card. Z is the number of years we have left until a quantum computer exists that can actually break our current encryption standards. This is it. This is the big deadline the entire world is racing against. So here's where it all comes together. Here's the bottom line. You take X, the shelf life of your data, and you add Y, your migration time. If that number, X plus Y, is less than Z, the time we have until the quantum threat is real, you're safe. Your data is secure. But if it's not, if X plus Y is greater than Z, then you're vulnerable. It's that simple. X plus Y has to be less than Z.
Okay, so now we get the formula, right? But let's see how this actually translates into a real-world timeline. Because, we can figure out our X, and we can make a pretty good guess at our Y, but what about Z? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? When is this quantum threat actually going to show up?
Well, obviously, nobody has a crystal ball here, but what we do have are surveys of quantum experts, and that gives us our best guess for Z. They're mostly focused on breaking something called RSA 2048, which is like one of the most common forms of encryption protecting us online right now. And here's the thing. The consensus among these experts isn't about if this is going to happen, it's about when. A whole lot of them think there's a pretty good chance it'll happen within the next 15 to 20 years. And some of the more pessimistic folks, they think it could be even sooner than that.
So this basically shows the different timelines organizations are choosing. Right now, the first official post-quantum standards are being published by NIST. That's the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology. And for organizations with the highest risk, the ones with really long X and Y values, they're in that urgent box. They literally have to start migrating now. Everyone else, well, they'll start to follow as the tools and the libraries for the stuff become more common.
All right, so you've done the math with Mosca's inequality, you have a rough idea of your timeline. What's next? What does the actual planning, the playbook for this migration, really look like?
It really breaks down into 3 core pillars. First, there's business planning. That means figuring out what data is the most critical to your organization. Then you have the technical planning. That's creating the nitty-gritty roadmap for the whole upgrade. And finally, of course, cost estimation. Figuring out exactly what kind of budget you're going to need for this, well, for this massive undertaking. And let me tell you, the technical planning part, it is a monster. This isn't just swapping out one piece of code for another. No way. You have to create a complete inventory of every single place your organization uses cryptography. I mean, think about a big bank, right? You've got the mobile app, the ATM network, the internal systems. They're all tangled together. You have to map out every single one of those dependencies before you can even think about changing anything. And you'll probably have to plan for hardware upgrades too, because some of these new algorithms, they need a lot more horsepower. And one of the most important things to remember here is that you can't just flip a switch one day. It's not a big bang kind of changeover. It absolutely has to be a phased, super carefully managed process. You tackle your most critical systems first, and you test and retest every single step of the way. So all this complexity, it really leads us to the final and maybe the most critical question. And it's a question that every single business leader, not just the IT folks, should be asking themselves right now. And that question is, how ready are you really? How can an organization even begin to measure its own readiness for a change this big? Well, thankfully, there are models out there to help you figure that out. They let you see exactly where you stand, and maybe even more importantly, what you need to focus on next. Because true readiness, it's not just about the tech. It's actually measured across 8 different areas. Things like PQC availability, which is a fancy way of asking, hey, are the quantum-safe tools we need even out there yet for our specific systems? Or another one is hybrid approach. That's a strategy where you use both the old and the new encryption at the same time for a while during the transition. It's like having a crucial safety net. The whole idea is to move along this spectrum of readiness. You might start at level 0, which is basically complete unawareness, where security is just reactive, you're always putting out fires. The goal is to get all the way to level 5. That's a state called foresighted awareness, where your organization is agile, it's strategic, and it's truly ready for whatever cryptographic challenges the future throws at. And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about, check out this number. The U.S. government, by itself, estimates that just migrating its own federal agencies is going to cost over $7 billion by the year 2035. That's just one government. So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that this is so much more than just another IT project. It's not a software patch. What we're really talking about here is rebuilding the entire foundation of trust for our digital world. It's about making sure that foundation is strong enough to hold up in the coming quantum era. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Every single piece of encrypted data that we all rely on every single day now has an expiration date, and that date is determined by that simple little formula. X plus Y is less than Z. The quantum clock is absolutely ticking, so the only question left for all of us is, do you know when your secrets expire?